So before I start talking about this new idea that I have for a raid mechanic, I just want to quickly say, a bit of a disclaimer, there is going to be a spoiler. So if you haven't done the latest mission in the seasonal content, I highly recommend you go do that now, because you will probably need to know the context in order to understand this raid mechanic. So the gist of this is actually coming from the cutscene that we've seen recently, with the witness actually being verified to being some kind of amalgamation of an entire race. So the kind of mechanic I'm thinking of when it comes to fighting the witness, because let's face it, it's got to be in a raid. It'd be a bit anticlimactic if he's the end boss of Final Shape. As for the mechanic itself, we are going to pretty much just take apart like how he is an amalgamation of an entire race. So the idea would be, when we reach DPS phase, whether we do a mechanic that has something to do with light and dark, like what we do with Nezarec, or we have something different for when we do the DPS phases on the Witness. Basically, the point is, as soon as we go into the DPS phase, my idea for the raid mechanic is that the Witness should then split down into the individual beings that made it. I'm basically just dubbing these entities as Whispers of the Witness, because it kind of works that way. But the way this is going to work is when they split down into the individual entities, they are basically going to become mini-bosses. So there's going to be a maximum of 15 in the room, and basically as you kill them, more will spawn in. The actual damage phase itself will be 30 seconds, like pretty much every other DPS phase that we have. But the mini-bosses that spawn will have 100,000 health each, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, especially now a single super could probably take out 2 or 3 of these, but that's kind of the point. So the idea is the Witness would have roughly 15 million HP. So the way this works is when you kill a mini-boss, it will deal 100,000 damage to the Witness's health pool, which basically means, yes, you need to kill 150 of these guys in order to take down the Witness, which is a daunting task, especially considering you got to do it 4 phases, so that's roughly 37 kills of the mini-bosses every DPS phase. Now, doing this solo is going to be pretty much impossible, so that's fine. 2, 3 phase is going to be incredibly tough. 4 is probably going to be doable, but still tough. And it's ideal for 5 and 6 man raid teams, because then you have enough damage being put out by all your teammates that you should be able to clear them quite nicely. But because you've got to kill roughly 37 of these every DPS phase, you pretty much have to kill one every 0.8 seconds, which can be done, because there are supers like Blade Barrage, Nova Bomb, Thunder Crash that can just take out enemies all at once. Not to mention this will actually give some kind of benefit to running a roaming super, which doesn't really happen in raids anymore. So if you were to pop a Fists of Havoc, for example, or maybe even use a Dawn Blade, it would actually be viable strategy in this, because you're trying to take out loads of ads at the same time. And it will give you a massive benefit in order to use Strand again, because let's face it, Strand's the new subclass that came out. I don't see why they wouldn't push it, but obviously with these being mini bosses, you can't suspend them, so just literally pop a super and go nuts. Obviously, I'm just spitballing with the rough figures and the HP pool, but that's kind of the idea of what you want to go down, because it needs to be tough enough to actually pose a really good challenge. But this way, it's giving you a challenge as a mechanic, because you have to kill the enemies quick enough rather than just dealing a ton of damage to the boss. And naturally, with our power weapons doing roughly 50 to 60k, maybe up to 100k if you are lucky, 100k does feel like a good amount of health to have, because you won't be able to take them down in 1 heavy shot, but 2, you'll definitely be able to take them out. But that is literally the mechanic that I've just thought of, so let me know in the comments below if you do agree with this, and if it's something you would like to see in the Final Shape raid, because I personally would be up for this. It would make a lot of sense to have it done this way, because that way we're not just tanking into tons of boss health, we actually have a challenge to do with mechanics. But as always, remember to leave a like on the video, and I shall see you all in the next one.